I don't know about you, but I have found that over the last few weeks that I've been taking kind of a hiatus from following the 24/7 news cycle, and especially on social media. I have become a much happier person. And so today I went back through and I started, checking headlines and stuff like that. And man, that was a bad decision. Let's talk about it today on the 306 podcast. Welcome back to the 306 podcast. My name is Scott. If this is your first time joining us here, I just want to thank you for stopping in, and I hope that you stick around and see what our content's all about. And if you enjoy it, please give it a like, and you can connect with us on social media. Just search for loveLocal PA, and as always, I'd love for you to subscribe. So here at the 306 podcast, we just strive to talk about common sense things that are happening in our world, and how we can overcome struggles and how we can improve relationships so that we can be happier in this life. So I mentioned that I took a small hiatus from social media following the 24/7 news cycle. Because it just wore me out. Like, it just made me angry and bitter, and I wasn't learning anything that I didn't already know. Like, news is supposed to be like finding something out that you didn't know before. But news stories that happened months ago are still being brought up and redug up, and it's just like, get over it. We get it. They're a horrible person, or this happened, or that didn't happen. We get it. And I understand that not everyone is in that same boat. But for me, I couldn't do it anymore. So I took 2 or 3 weeks and I quit listening to some of the shows that I listen to, and visiting the news sites that I go to. I unsubscribed from some of the people on social media. And I'll tell you what, and instead what I did was I focused more on reading, on spending time with friends, building up those relationships, and what a difference. Honestly, it's still in the back of your head that like things are happening and you need to be somewhat connected to what's happening. But for the most part, at the end of the day, it's like, it doesn't matter. Whether or not I spend 5-6 hours listening to the same craziness happening over and over and over again, I'm not changing it right now. None of the problems that are happening in our country are going to be fixed with the current trajectory of where our country's going. None of them are going to be fixed. You're reading through some of these headlines and it's like, people really only care about themselves. They only care about their little personal agenda, and it's so sad. Like, they think that their own personal little world that they dreamed up is so awesome, so important, and it's like, it's not. You trying to dictate how other people think, that's not how we change things. You change people through relations, through relational conversations, through relational thought. Here's the thing that's just like mind-blowing to me. If you look at any news site, any news website or TV station or publication, the people that follow that site or that company more than likely, overwhelmingly, support their agenda. So if the New York Times is not pumping out very many conservative articles, and the Daily Caller or Breitbart is not pushing out a lot of progressive content, they just aren't, because they're feeding into their audience. And so at that point, it's no longer, it's all biased. It's all biased. And anymore, I don't know about you, and I'd love to hear your comments down below. I don't trust any of them. I don't really trust any of them. Because so often you find out that they're stretching the truth, they're not being authentic, they're just not being honest. That's not to say everything they put out is dishonest, but we do live in a clickbait world. We live in a world where it's all about it's about putting those right keywords in the headline so that people click on it, so they can drive traffic. And studies have shown that something like 90% of people, they'll like, share, and comment on something just based on the headline. The fact they never even read the article. They just read the headline and they blow up and they lose their crap over a headline. And then you click on it and you find out that it actually had nothing to do with what the headline said. The headline was strictly to get you to click on it. So how do you fix it? You detach. And I'm not saying that you completely say, well, I don't care what's happening, but you detach yourself from this vicious, crazy news cycle. If you're someone that's following the news all the time, I don't know how you stay sane. I don't know. And I can honestly say over the past 3-4 weeks where we've been, instead of watching the news or having the news on at work, I listen to, a Christian podcast or a motivational speaker, or I take an online class for marketing or something like that. And I just detach my mind from that. Because here's how I'm going to change what's happening in our country. I'm going to vote, and I'm going to educate myself on what I believe and figure out why I believe it, what's the source of why I believe it, and then I'm going to go out and I'm going to have conversations with friends, with family, with coworkers, with clients, with people in my sphere of influence, and figure out, what do you believe? Why? Oh, well, I believe this. Well, I completely disagree with that. So why do you agree with that point of view or that worldview? It doesn't mean that I'm going to succumb to what they say or what they believe. And it's not so much that I expect them to just roll over and start to accept what I believe. But at least I'll have a good understanding of why they believe what they believe. When do we become the people who couldn't talk anymore? And before you say, oh, well, when Trump, it was before Trump. I mean, I remember when Obama got in, and there was all of this hysteria over when Obama got in. I think I might have just said Trump again, but when Obama got in, there was this hysteria that all this craziness. Same with Bush and Clinton and Bush before that and Reagan. I mean, you go back to Washington, and there was opposition to the president. Maybe not Washington, because everyone loved Washington, but from Adams on, I mean, it's there was opposition. And if you go back and look at some of the presidential campaigns from way back in the day, Jefferson and Adams, back then, Monroe, they had some nasty campaigns, just brutally attacking, the character of the other person. So this isn't new either. But what is new is the hate. I mean, you can disagree with someone and you can debate your side, we'll call it. And you can do so with integrity, but you can do so without hating the other person. What I've seen and what I've experienced is I talk politics with people. I talk current events, what's happening. Right now we have these 7,500 people. We have no idea who they are. We know who some of them are. Some of them might have true intentions of coming here. Some of them don't. And so there's bickering on both sides. But just talking with friends and being like, hey, so what are your thoughts on this and why? And being civil about it. As soon as you lose civility, you lose any chance of making progress. Once you lose civility and you're no longer listening to the person, because you can't be civil and not listen to them. I mean, if you're civil, you're listening to them. If you're not being civil, you're not listening to them. So how can you make any kind, unless you're just looking to score points or those one-liners and then throw it on social media so that you can get views. But honestly, look at how many millions of views some of these videos have. What's it changing? What's it changing? Not a whole lot. Well, if we don't do it, then nothing will change. I don't believe it. I really don't. I think people just have this like sense deep down in them of what's right and what's wrong. I mean, and I can probably say I know why. But we need to get out of this craziness that we're currently in. And so I would challenge you for a couple of weeks. I mean, I understand that the elections are coming up in just under 2 weeks. But I would say learn about the candidates that are before you. If you're in Pennsylvania, don't worry about Minnesota. Don't worry about California. Don't worry about New York or Delaware or New Jersey or any of the, don't worry about the congressional race that's not in your district. Worry about your own district. Clean up and fight for what is in your district before you go out and go nuts about somewhere else. If your district's okay, then I don't know. But learn about your candidates. Figure out who you're going to vote for, and then step out. That's going to be, in my opinion, the most beneficial thing. Because once we start ignoring the craziness, they're going to have to figure out a new way to capture our attention. And who knows, they might actually start telling the truth. I doubt it, but it might happen. Because here's the thing, I've talked about it, in previous podcasts, but man, the freedom of having people in your life that you can talk to, that you can share moments of your life with, is so much more beneficial than just secluding yourself to the nonsense of what's happening. And unfortunately, we're seeing where people are just, and I'm not saying completely disconnect. Don't misunderstand me, because there are people that are like, you know what, I'm just unplugging from everything. I don't want to talk to anyone. I hate everyone. And I'm just going to play Fortnite, and I'm going to do all these virtual reality worlds where I can be whoever I want. I can talk to people because they don't know me. I don't know them. And I can just put up this facade. I can put up this false front and be whoever. And if I want to be someone different every day, I can do that. And that's where they're getting their satisfaction. And that's a dangerous place. That's a dangerous place. I'm not saying do that. And I'm not saying that playing Fortnite is making you into a horrible person either. I mean, I love video games just as much as the next person, but I mean, you need to be in relation with people. You need to have people understand who you are. I mean, we get so upset whenever we see these celebrities and I get upset whenever I see it locally. Whenever we see people struggling with addictions, when we see people struggling with depression and suicide. I mean, where we are, we have one of the highest rates of suicide in the country. And it's because no one's invested in people anymore. No one cares what other people are going through. They say they do, but they don't. They care about getting their agenda. They care about getting their organization or their whatever out. And they use people as bait. And that's why we've seen so many celebrities. They realize, and I don't mean to speak for them, but it seems like in reading what they write, that they feel so empty. That the movie industry just uses them, they pay them tons of money, and they just use them to push agendas, and no one really cares about them. And they end up taking their own lives, which is, it breaks my heart. So what can I do? I can't go out and say, hey, celebrities, I'll be there for you. I mean, I guess I could, but it probably wouldn't get me anywhere. But what I can do is start investing in people that I do have in my life, making sure that they're okay, opening up myself, showing my vulnerabilities to them so that they can see, hey, this guy's actually for me. He's not against me. Because you can post on your Facebook, hey, call me anytime, or, if you're ever having any problems, like, I'm here for you. If they don't trust you, they're not going to reach out to you. That's nice. It might get you a lot of likes on your Facebook page, but unless you're in real relation with people, when you're in a state of depression, you're not going to reach out. They need people to recognize it in them. And you can only do that through relationships. So I would encourage you. And I would say, pick up the phone. Pick up the phone. To text people, not to call people, because we don't call people anymore. But pick up the phone and text a couple of friends. And if you have 3 nights open next week, schedule 2 to have dinner with someone that you haven't had dinner with. And here's a great way to text them. You could even say, hey, this is kind of weird, but let's grab dinner, if you're interested. Get to know people. And allow other people to get to know you. It's a two-way street. And I will promise you that life will get a little bit better. Because as we've seen, culture is not getting better. Society is not getting better. What our politicians and what our celebrities are doing is not making life better. Because we're trying to live in their world. We're trying to get rid of our own personal lives and what we have going on and live vicariously through Netflix, through Facebook, through social media, through entertainment, through politics, through our blogs. And it's not feeding us. It's not fulfilling us. Because it's not supposed to. What feeds and fulfills us is the life that we have. So instead of putting things in our life that we think are going to give us quick and temporary happiness, let's actually start making some investments outwardly. Because the dividends that will pay in the future is true happiness. So let that be my encouragement to you this week. If you made it this far, I just want to thank you. I'd love to hear your comments on what we talked about today. So please comment down below. Subscribe if you enjoyed this content. Connect with us on social media. Just search loveLocal PA, and we'll see you in the next video.